Okay, so let's start with this new webinar about fleet management challenges for embedded devices, the ToloMEO operating system approach. So good afternoon, I'm Manuele Papais, Business Development Manager at Dave Embedded Systems. And I will introduce and close this webinar. This webinar will take about 1 hour and a half, more or less, and covers a short introduction about Dave Embedded Systems, a deep overview about the key challenges on fleet management, and in particular, the IoT and over-the-air management cybersecurity in embedded fleets, the AI on edge in fleet management, the trustiness in IoT environment, and finally some use cases and the Q&A session. The speakers for today's webinar are myself, Manuele Papais, Business Development Manager at Dave Embedded System, Alberto Scarpa, our ToloMEO's Fleet Management Project Manager, and Andrea Marson, Senior Technical Consultant at Dave Embedded Systems. Let's start with a short introduction about Dave Embedded Systems. Dave Embedded System is based in Porcia, northeast of Italy, with a strong engineering team. We are 75% of our 25 engineers people are engineers. We produce over 100,000 PCBA units annually and have a growing international presence with offices and partners in Germany, the UK, and the US. Our market, the embedded market, is really booming. The projection says that the growth will start from $110 billion in 2024 to $173 billion in 2032, with a CAGR of about 9.4%. Growth is mainly driven by real-time processing, edge AI, autonomous vehicles, and 5G. Just for your information, the top 15 players control the 56% of the market, focusing on low power and AI-enabled solutions. And in this context, the challenges for small, medium enterprises are limited resources, technical complexity, and digital skill gaps. To adapt, these companies are turning to a ready-to-use hardware like SOM, system of modules, and single-board computers, and platforms for IoT, AI, cybersecurity. Because these solutions help reducing time to market, cost, and reliance on specialized talent that are very difficult to find nowadays. So Dave Embedded System is offering hardware and software solutions. On the other side, system of modules, single-board computers, but we do also custom designs and FPGA IP integration. On the software side, we are able to support Linux BSP, Android, security hardening, edge AI modeling, and real-time applications. Our ecosystem includes tools for both support package maintenance, firmware updates, cybersecurity, CVE monitoring, software bill of material triage, edge AI training, IoT data collection, and blockchain-based event tracking. These services are part of our fleet management solution, ToloMEO, that is part of our speech today. Our solutions are deployed across different sectors: healthcare, industry, home automation, aerospace and defense, and we are also offering in-house manufacturing with top quality, with IPC class 3 process and ISO 9001 and ISO 13485 certifications. So Now we are ready to start for the core of this webinar. Just before starting, I want to remind that you are allowed to make questions for the webinar, and the recording will be available on YouTube. Now I leave to Alberto the pitch, and thank you very much to be here.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thanks, Manuele, for the introduction. I'm Alberto Scarpa. I'm the project manager of ToloMEO. And now I like to walk you through the key challenges we face when we manage a large fleet of embedded device, and why a platform like ToloMEO O.S is becoming essential in this context. First challenge is the product traceability. In manufacturing, traceability is no longer an optional. Companies need to know exactly which hardware and software version is running on each device in the field. Sometimes there are 100 or 1,000 devices distributed across the planet, across different customers and in different geographies. But with modern embedded system, the situation is also more complex. There are many hardware variants, there are software forks, different versions in the field, and customization for the customer. There is also a long life cycle for the devices. Most of the time, more than 10 years must be guaranteed. And also the condition of the field is constantly evolve. So without a unified traceability layer, issues like recalls, field failures, or security vulnerabilities become extremely costly to manage. Another challenges is the IoT connectivity that unlocks enormous potential in your device, but it also introduce operational challenges. The challenges start from the first provisioning, when the physical device has to be discovered and added to the cloud platform. But once the device is deployed, we must be able to update the firmware securely, roll out patches gradually in the fleet, and all connectivity interrupts, and avoid breaking the device in the field. Traditional over-the-air update mechanisms were not built for industrial environment where the device can just be rebooted or taken offline whenever needed. ToloMEO O.S as a solution for this challenge. Let's move to the next one, that is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is becoming one of the top concerns for manufacturing organizations in these days. Threats are increasingly sophisticated, and embedded systems are part of the attack surface. Also, the regulatory landscape is quickly evolving. NIS2, Cyber Resilience Act, you've read, the ISA 60443 are only some regulations to take account when you design your product. The key security challenges include handling the software bill of materials and the vulnerability information, securing the supply chain, verifying the integrity of the software component, and managing the vulnerability over the time. Lastly, ensuring the security of the update themselves. ToloMEO also for the cybersecurity as a module and solution that cover this challenge. Another challenge in the embedded device is the AI. That now AI is moving from the cloud to the edge. We now expected embedded device to classify events, detect anomalies, optimize processing in real time, or run models without depending on the cloud. These are just some examples, but deploying AI on an edge device add a lot of challenges. For example, limited computing and memory power. We need optimize and quantize model to run properly on the device, and we need to continuously update the models and monitoring the inference performance across the fleet. The ToloMEO AI modules aims to solve these problems. The final challenge is what we call trustiness, and it goes far beyond the traditional cybersecurity. In modern industrial environment, data is not just telemetry. It becomes a legal asset, something that can trigger automated process, validate compliance, and even interact with smart contracts. But this only works if the data is authentic and tamper-proof and validated across all the life cycle of the data, from the moment it is generated to the moment it is archived. And it is extremely challenging another time, because we must ensure that the device that generated data is genuine, the software producing the measurement is verified, and the data is time-stamped and signed and immutable. Every transformation process step must be traceable, and the archived data maintains its legal validity over the time, only in this condition. In other words, we need a continuous chain of trust of the data from the producing to the archiving of the data. ToloMEO has an implementation of Trustiness to cover all the life cycle of the data. To summarize, managing fleets on embedded device today require more than connectivity. It demands structured and secure and intelligent operation layer that handles on the entire life cycle of the device. And ToloMEO was designed exactly to meet all these challenges. So in the next section of this webinar, we go deeper in analyzing all of these challenges and what the ToloMEO platform can provide to support your development. Now I let Andrea Marson to present you the IoT and the OTA updates challenges.
Thank you, Alberto. Okay, so let's start the section of the presentation related to over-the-air updates management. First, let's look at the reasons why a secure automatic OTA update system is essential nowadays in industrial IoT applications. There are basically three main reasons. The first one is improving existing features / delivering brand new ones. Then we have fixing bugs, of course. And the last but not least, patching vulnerabilities. Today, this is mandatory as per European Union CRA regulation. That is very, very, very close. Automatic over-the-air updates are important also to avoid manual updates because manual updates have a lot of issues, a lot of concerns. The first one is complexity. Updating firmware across distributed industrial devices is time-consuming and error-prone. Downtime and operational disruption is also a concern. Physical intervention often requires stopping production lines, leading to costly downtime. There are also scalability challenges because managing updates for large fleets of edge devices becomes unmanageable without automation. There are also geographical constraints. because in many cases, edge devices are remote or hard to reach installations that make on-site updates impractical. The last point has always been important. I'm talking about the vulnerabilities aspect. But this is especially true now, given that it is becoming practically mandatory considering the CRA legislation, which will come into force shortly. Okay, let's move to the next slide. This slide lists the main best practices that should be followed when implementing an OTA update system. The first point is related to secure by design. Use strong encryption, authentication, and signed packages to prevent tampering is mandatory. Furthermore, the update system, needs to support both incremental and full updates. Why is it advisable to support both methods? Each one is more suitable for certain situations than others. Therefore, device fleet managers are required to choose the one that fits better the type of update to be released. Generally speaking, incremental updates are preferred when you have limited bandwidth, when there are frequent small updates, or when devices with strict uptime requirements compose your fleet of devices. On the contrary, full updates are preferable when major firmware changes occur, or when the device is corrupted or in an unknown state, or there is a large version gap between two consecutive updates. Another important practice is to ensure fail-safe mechanisms. It means implementing rollback and recovery options to ensure continuity in case of failure. Another important point is stage rollouts. Deploy updates gradually across devices using, for example, grouping in order to split the fleet. Allows to monitor stability before a full rollout involving all the fleet. There is also an important aspect regarding monitoring and logging. This means to track update progress and maintain detailed logs for compliance and troubleshooting. The last point refers to testing in virtual environments. If possible, it is a good idea to validate the update mechanisms using virtual edge devices before deploying to production fleets. So again, you need to face a lot of challenges when implementing an over-the-air update system. Here we summarize the most important ones. The first refers to security and integrity. Ensuring that updates are authenticated, encrypted, and tamper-proof is not trivial because it involves managing public/private keys, certificates, mutual authentication and encryption protocols, etc. There are also problems related to network stability. Managing updates over unstable or low bandwidth industrial networks without data loss is not an easy task. It is common to deal with the device diversity as well. Supporting heterogeneous hardware and software environments across large fleets is very common. Think, for example, about different hardware revisions of the same product running different versions of software stacks. For what concerns rollback and recovery, it is advisable to implement safe fallback mechanisms in case of update failures occur in order to avoid downtime. To address this point, non-volatile storage partitioning and proper coordination between the bootloader and the update application are required. There are also an issue regarding scalability. meaning that coordinated simultaneous updates for thousands of devices without disrupting operations is not trivial. You should also adopt a staged approach in order to mitigate the risk of delivering faulty updates. Updates can also be selective based on different criteria, such as geographical location, device models, hardware revisions, and so on. The last point is about non-intrusivity. This means to orchestrate update process so that it does not interfere with critical tasks that the edge device has to carry out, no matter if an update process is ongoing or not. The diagram on the left illustrates the composition of the edge side software stack we implemented, highlighting the parts relevant to the OTA update system implemented by default in ToloMEO. The diagram highlights the modular structure, which is a design principle that has been followed throughout the implementation of ToloMEO. Next slides will show some practical examples of what it means to manage the deployment in practice of an update. For convenience, these examples will refer to ToloMEO virtual device. It is called also TVD for short. TVD is a software emulated virtual device that emulates a generic compatible ToloMEO device and allows easy testing with the ToloMEO ecosystem. At the link provided in this slide, you can read an article that explains how it works in more detail and shows how it can be downloaded and used freely. On the right, you can see the partitioning scheme for non-volatile storage adopted by TVD. Of course, this partitioning can be adapted to suit your needs. The most important thing to note is the dual slot configuration, which allows for classic automation rollback mechanisms called A/B partitioning. For what concerns the typical operation flow, it consists of the following points. The product maintainer releases a new update package in the form of a .swu file, making it available on the internet and deciding which groups or devices it addresses. This format is related to the fact that the underlying package used to apply in actually the update is the well-known software, open source, well-known software update program. With ToloMEO Manager, the default web front end of the ToloMEO platform, the Fleet Manager sets the URL of this file and enables the update process. Edge devices targeted by the update are notified. And the last point involves the user application running on the edge device, which governs the actual update process by interacting with ToloMEO Edge Software Update Service. This service gives the system, this approach, gives the system integrator the freedom to choose, for example, when to start /pause/resume downloading and when to fire the installation to minimize the impact on the normal operation of the edge device. These examples show the typical steps required to sign the update file. For the sake of simplicity, let's assume we want to update a simple application consisting of just one file, a Python script. And we also assume that public/private keys pair is already generated and the public key is already installed in the TVD's file system, so in the edge devices file system. The first step consists of generating the cryptographic hash of the application file. The second one consists of creating the software description file and sign it with a private key. Then the files are packed together in order to generate .sw file. Finally, this file is downloaded by the edge device and applied locally according to the rules we talked about previously. Shortly, we will release a new blog post describing this procedure in more detail, and you will be notified when this will be available. The last point I want to address regarding over-the-air updates is the integration with PMS. PMS is the product management system, which is in turn part of the product lifetime management tools offered by ToloMEO platform. Briefly, PMS stores important relevant information about products and allows to track key events regarding the products throughout their life. Here we have a list of examples showing what typically are considered key events. So we start from manufacturing, quality checks, firmware installation, so on. Regarding updates, of course, firmware updates can be considered for sure relevant and important events that are worth to be tracked. Tracking these life cycle events is essential also to comply with the upcoming EU Digital Product Passport regulation, which mandates full traceability and transparency across the entire product journey. For this reason, PMN events will probably be notarized on the ToloMEO distributed ledger as well in near future. And we will talk about this topic at the end of the presentation. This is a screenshot showing what PMS looks like. The most interesting part for our discussion is what you can see at the bottom of the screenshot, where relevant events in the product's life cycle are displayed. OTA update events could also be tracked in this section if you want to keep this kind of information and make it part of the PMS log regarding the product's life cycle. Okay, Alberto, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm back on the screen. So in this session, I want to focus on the most critical dimension of a modern fleet management of embedded device, that is cybersecurity. Today, cybersecurity is no longer just an IT concern. It is a strategic business priority, especially for manufacturing companies that deploys thousands of connected devices into the field around the world for different customers. And let's begin. So, unlike servers or PC, embedded devices operate in a harsh, constrained, and long-lived environments. That means that devices often stay in the field for 10 or 15 years. They run on custom hardware and software stacks, and many devices operate with intermittent connectivity. Also, the physical access is often uncontrolled, and updating them is risky and sometimes impossible, and can compromise the business continuity of the device. All this means that the typical IoT security model and solution simply doesn't apply for the embedded device. An exploited vulnerability in a cloud service can be patched and released in minutes, but a vulnerability in an industrial gateway deployed in a factory or in many devices in the field can take months or years to be completely removed. And attackers and hackers know this. That's why embedded fleets have become a prime target. They are often the weakest link in the digital ecosystem. Today's threats landscape affects embedded device at multiple layers. There are supply chain vulnerabilities because our products are integrated to third-party libraries, open source packages, board support packages, and firmware components that may be shipped with vulnerabilities that are unnoticed until after the deployment. There are remote exploitation because device connected with a cellular line or with the Wi-Fi or wired networks are in the attack surface and can be targeted from anywhere in the world. They are connected. There is also the risk of physical tampering. Devices in the field can be physical accessed, manipulated, and reverse engineered. So it's not secure, the physical access. There is the risk of over-the-air update interception or manipulation. If an update, for example, is not securely signed and verified, attackers can inject malicious firmware in the device. And there is also the risk of credential leakage and weak identity management. For example, related with the hard-coded password or shared credential among the fleet of the device, or missing device identities that are just some example of threats that are widespread in the embedded system also today. There is also a life cycle drift. That means the longer the device remain deployed in the field, the more the security diverge from the beginning. That because there are new vulnerability that progressively are discovered, and the device that were secure some months ago are no more secure in the field. So in short, cybersecurity is no longer an event. It's not longer something that you address one time. It is no longer an ongoing battle. It's something that you have to face in every steps of the product life cycle. Also, the regulatory landscape is changing. It's important to recognize that the cybersecurity for embedded device is not only a technical challenge, is even more a regulatory obligation right now. Governments, EU, industry bodies worldwide are introducing frameworks that impact how manufacturers must design, update, and maintain the device in the field. Here are listed some of the key regulations. For example, the NIS2 directive that is enforced from the 2024 impacts a company operating in the manufacturing, energy, transportation, healthcare, and many other essential and important sectors. For embedded device, they requires a strong asset and device inventory. That is what we cover with PMS, for example, vulnerability management integrated into the operation, secure software, update, and supply chain. The manufacturer needs to report incident within 24 hours. and they need to ensure the business, to have process to ensure the business continuity. So for companies deploying fleets on of embedded device, that means that a secure lifecycle management become mandatory, and it is not more an optional. The EU Cyber Resilience Act is perhaps the most significant regulation in the IoT embedded system. The CRA apply to any product with the digital elements. That means with hardware and firmware inside. So everything that is digital is included in the CRA, like embedded device, consumer IoT device, industrial gateway, device with the EI in the field, connected machinery in the industry. Everything is must be compliant with the CRA. The key obligations includes the vulnerability handling process through the entire life cycle of the device. A secure by design principle in the development of the device, and the generation and the maintenance of a software bill of materials with a security update for many years after the release of the first product. And it is also mandatory reporting the exploited vulnerabilities. The penalties for the CRA is 2.5% of the global revenues of the manufacturer, up to 50 million. So CRA enforces the companies to adopt continuous security management. Another regulation is the VRED, that targets the device with the wireless communication, whatever it is, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular line, 4G, 5G, whatever. Manufacturer of wireless device must demonstrate the protection against network attacks, protection of the personal data, and robustness against unauthorized access. And lastly, a secure update mechanism. So secure boot and trusted boot are not just best practice like some years ago, are now they becoming compliance requirement for this regulation. Moreover, there are many other different industry-specific regulation, like ISA 62443 for the industrial cybersecurity, MDR and the ESC 8100, and the customer IoT regulation with the ATSI 303645 that required different requirement for every regulation, but most of them are similar of what the CRA and the other regulation ask. So together, all these regulation show that the manufacturers must manage security continuously through the entire life cycle of their device. From the SBOM generation and monitoring, they need to secure the over-the-air update process. They need a vulnerability tracking mechanism, and an auditability is also mandatory to track everything that is happening on the device. This is exactly why platform like ToloMEO are becoming essential, because they can solve and can assist you to be compliant with most of this regulation. The key security requirement of all these regulation are listed in this slide. Companies must adopt a secure lifecycle approach to cover of this requirement. The first one is security manufacturing, ensuring that each device has an identity from the day zero. So every device is unique, and it can be identified on the cloud and on the field. They need continuous vulnerability tracking mechanism, ensuring the SBOM is automated scan to detect new vulnerabilities that may affect devices in the field. And company must also secure that OTA updates are available to delivery patches with signing mechanism, fail-safe rollback to be protected against problems in the update, and a phased rollout to deploy the updates in the field in stages. Manufacturer companies also need a runtime monitoring mechanism to detecting anomalies and unexpected configuration or unauthorized modification of the device in the field. And finally, they need also to have a process to manage the end of life and the decommissioning of a device, ensuring that data is wiped out of the device, the key, the certificates are revoked after the end of life of the product. The ToloMEO platform address all of these requirements, as is designed to guarantee cyber security in all the life cycle of the product. We manage the identity of the device on the field with the connection with the cloud. We guarantee the secure boot and the firmware integrity. That is the system that enforces the verified boot of chain in the device, so any software installed in the device is signed and cannot be affected by malware. ToloMEO also has a strong software bill of material management, tracking the software bill of material of every firmware version and continuously check it for new vulnerabilities to ensure that the device is deployed in the field as no vulnerability. And ToloMEO also support, as we saw in the previous section, a strong OTA over-the-air software update mechanism with cryptographically signature and end-to-end validation with the rollout and rollback mechanism to secure the availability and the security of the update. ToloMEO also secure the data flow, the telemetry, logs, sensor data, and whatever that is generated from the device to the cloud, securing the connection. And it also provide audits and the log of everything is happening on the device. So ToloMEO can be a strong component of the development of your products. In the end, cybersecurity is not just a defensive requirement right now. It is a security enabler. Is something that enable your business to work properly in the field, enables the OTA update, and allow the companies to adopt, for example, artificial intelligence on the edge device without risk. Cybersecurity also build trust between the customer and the regulatory bodies. So it is something that can unlock a lot of potential in your business. So it's not only a requirement. ToloMEO ToloMEO O.S can be a core component and a support for you in the development of your product and in the compliance with the cybersecurity. Let's move now to another topic that is AI on the edge in the fleet management. In this session, we will focus on one of the most challenging aspects in the modern embedded system, that is artificial intelligence running on the edge. In this year, AI is moving rapidly out of the cloud and into the edge device themselves. This shift opens incredible possibilities for the companies, for the manufacturing, for the industrial automation, and for the connected products, but it also introduces a new set of non-trivial challenges. Most embedded devices were not designed with AI in mind. The devices that are on the field, unlikely servers or GPU in the cloud, have not the CPU and the memory power of the server. So CPU and memory and RAM is limited. There are strict power requirement. There are also thermal limits and intermittent connectivity. And in the edge device, there are many times also real-time constraints. And this means that deploying a neural network, an AI algorithm, is not a simple copy the model in the device and run the inference in the device, but the manufacturer must ensure, for example, deterministic latency and execution, and the no interference with the critical tasks that are performed in the device. So the AI must run in a reliable way on the device that were never intended to run the device, or the AI must run in a reliable way on the device that have a strict requirement for hardware acceleration, for example. A model trained on the cloud or on a workstation cannot be deployed directly on a microcontroller or an embedded Linux board, as we said, for the requirement limitation that we have. So every AI model needs quantization, pruning, compression, and adaptation to the hardware acceleration that is available on the device. And we also need to guarantee the compatibility with an heterogeneous set of chipsets that are available in the market. This creates a fragmented and complex toolchain landscape with different devices in the fleet that may use different CPU and even different accelerator like neural processing unit, NPU. This is a big challenge in the deploying one model across many devices because the devices are all different. Deploying a model once is an easy part, but we also the real challenge is to keep the model valid and updated for years across thousands of these devices with new hardware. The environment, the operational environment is evolving. We receive new data, so the model can drift, and maybe there are new algorithms or improvement. So the model lifecycle has to manage all these requirements. We need versioning of the model. We need to coordinate the model with the over-the-air update and rollback. Maybe we need the A/B testing too. And we need to test and to check the compatibility and dependencies across the whole system to synchronize the firmware, the operating system, and also the model that are deployed on the device. And this becomes also more complex if the update must be differential and to save bandwidth in embedded device with low bandwidth available. So once deployed, an AI must be continuously validated and monitored to monitor all the drift of the model, confidence score, for example, and have insight on how the AI model is performing on the field. Otherwise, the AI becomes a black box, and disconnected device may operate for years without knowing what is happening. So there is a growing need of model integrity, data authentication, and traceability of this model to solve all this problem. One of the most important challenges in the edge AI is data privacy. In a field like industrial, medical, or consumer device, often there are personal data or operational data protected by NDAs or safety critical information or commercial sensitive metrics that are recorded by the device. And these data cannot always be sent to the cloud to be used for training or for analysis. Also, the regulation like GDPR and NIS or the medical standards make the centralized learning difficult. So there are two emerging technologies that helps to address this problem. One is called federated learning, where the models are trained locally on the device, and only the gradient, the trained models, are sent to the central server that merge all the trained model together, so the raw data never leaves the device. The other approach is the split learning. In this approach, the model is split in two parts. The front portion runs on device and the back portion runs on the cloud or in a powerful edge server. So only the result after the front partition is sent to the cloud. And so the raw data stay on the device and only an intermediate representation is transferred. Both these methods are powerful, but require a lot of orchestration, secure communication, privacy mechanism, and reliable update to work. All of these features are included in the ToloMEO AI modules that address all these challenges in a structured approach. The modules provide the capabilities that we need to build, deploy, and operate an AI model in an embedded fleet. Some core features of the ToloMEO AI modules are the model lifecycle management, from the creation, optimization, deployment, and monitoring of the model with the versioning and rollback, and also the monitoring of the performance. In ToloMEO platform, we have a pre-built and ready-to-use edge device model to accelerate the development of your application. For example, we have object detection, people counting, occupancy detection, event classification, and some simple anomaly detection pipeline that are ready to use for your application. We also have a stage for model optimization for the edge device. So you can upload your model, train on the cloud, and the ToloMEO platform can do the quantization and the optimization of the model to run in a properly and efficient way on the target device. ToloMEO also manages the fine-tuning of the model, so you can upload new data on your model, and the ToloMEO take care of the final training of the model to be more accurate for your task. We can also do the full model retraining in ToloMEO. You need more data, but ToloMEO can train from scratch a model that can run on your edge device. Last part of the ToloMEO AI module is the monitoring section that can track the usage of the model, the inference performed by the model, and all the metrics related with the NAI in the field. In conclusion, Edge AI is powerful, but has a lot of constraints. Model must be optimized, portable, and also energy efficient. Deployment is only the beginning, but you have to take care of the whole lifecycle management of your model, and you need monitoring of the performance. ToloMEO O.S is bringing all these pieces together and can help you to develop products with AI enabled on the edge. Let's move to the last challenges, that is trustiness, presented by Andrea.
Thank you, Alberto. The topic we address in this section is rather subtle and not very easy to convey. To facilitate the explanation, I will use a description of a scenario representative of the typical industrial IoT systems in which our customers operate. The needs I am about to describe have been gathered thanks to feedback from our customers who have reported throughout the years. This typical scenario is illustrated in this figure. The three main actors involved are Alice, Bob, and Charlie. Alice represents the typical customer of dev embedded systems. In other words, is a company that manufactures some kind of industrial machinery or devices. Charlie plays the role of distributor and/or service technician that operates on the industrial product on behalf of Alice. And the last player is Bob. Bob is the end customer who bought the industrial product. So why the lack of trust in industrial IoT system is felt by these actors? These environments are typically multi-actor. As we have just saw, there are a lot of different players, such as manufacturers, distributors, authorized installers, and customers, and so on. These actors do not necessarily trust each other because in many situations they have conflicting interests. For example, think about an installer that may be tempted, in order to save time, to rush the commissioning of a machine, skipping some of the mandatory steps required by the procedure. If malfunction occurs at a later stage due due to incorrect commissioning, the installer may think about altering the installation report to claim that they are not responsible. How to satisfy such needs in ToloMEO? The solution we chose is to integrate a distributed ledger. Simply put, you can think of the distributed ledger as a chain of records. What are the pros of such an implementation? The first one is immutable records. Distributed ledger technologies ensure that every transaction, update, or process that has been recorded on this spatial ledger is permanently recorded and cannot be altered. If properly engineered, DLT ensures regulatory compliance because it can support legal requirements for traceability and accountability in industrial environments. For sure, it provides enhanced transparency because all actors can verify data authenticity without relying on a single centralized authority. It is secure by design because it implements state-of-the-art technologies in order to reduce the risk of fraud and unauthorized changes. At the end of the day, it facilitates collaboration because it builds confidence in multi-party ecosystems, enabling smoother integration and partnerships. Again, we have to tackle a lot of challenges when implementing a public distributed ledger in an IoT ecosystem. The first one is security and compliance, ensuring cryptographic integrity and meeting regulatory standards such as eIDAS and MiCA adds implementation overhead. The complexity of integration is remarkable. Seamless connecting a distributed ledger with an industrial IoT platform, cloud services, and legacy system requires custom development. There is also an ongoing maintenance, which means keeping nodes updated, applying security patches, and ensuring compatibility with evolving industrial IoT infrastructure demands is a continuous effort. We have now a couple of slides showing how the implementation in ToloMEO has been carried out. We have a native integration with an open source permission public distributed ledger called Commercio.network. Dave Embedded System is part of the Commercio.network consortium because we own a validator node which is based on a proof of stake technology, and so we are active part of the network. This solution ensures complete transparency, meaning that anybody can run a full node, being able to clone the whole transaction history from its beginning without asking permission to anybody. Recently we published a blog post you can reach by connecting this link describing this implementation in more details. The integration of a distributed ledger provides a broad range of services. Let's start from one of the most important, which is called notarization. Notarization is the process of recording data or events on a distributed ledger to create an immutable, verifiable proof of their existence and integrity at a specific point in time. Thanks to the integration of Commercio.network within the ToloMEO ecosystem, this process is also eIDAS compliant. eIDAS is a regulation enforced in the European Union. In an industrial IoT context, this means that every critical action, for example, firmware update, device registration, commissioning of new product, and so on, may be logged, in other words, notarized on a distributed ledger. Notarized records are tamper-proof thanks to cryptographic hashing and consensus mechanisms. Any stakeholder involved, manufacturer, distributors, customers, and so on, can verify independently the authenticity of the data without relying on a central authority. In case notarized information is also electronically signed, you can certify the identity of the people who signed it. The last point is a little bit tricky, and I close this slide with a relevant quotation by the founder of Commercio.Network Consortium to underline this concept, which is often misunderstood when it comes to DLT. He says, distributed ledgers do not guarantee truth, but they nails down lies. In other words, DLT per se cannot guarantee the truthfulness of notarized data. This is an example showing the notarization process occurring in the context of the ToloMEO ecosystem. This example is taken from the blog article I just mentioned. It details the notarization of a SendML record storing a data point gathered at the edge. Specifically, it relates to the CPU nice metric collected by an edge device. To assert that this data is true, the entire industrial IoT system must be engineered to ensure that this data cannot be altered on its journey from the sensor to the cloud. This is why notarization itself cannot guarantee truthfulness of this data. The availability of DLT within the ToloMEO ecosystem allows to implement advanced features. Here we can see some of them. As already mentioned, we can implement data certification systems. If the system integrator can ensure from sensor to cloud certification of data, ToloMEO is allowed to notarize certified data, increasing immensely its trustworthiness. We can also think about creation of non-fungible tokens for several purposes, such as certificate of authenticity and proof of attendance. For example, thanks to the proof of attendance protocol, it is possible to prove that an authorized installer performed maintenance on day X at time Y at the end customer's locations. Also, we could implement real-world asset tokenization. The MiCA regulation enforced in European Union provides a comprehensive legal framework for crypto assets in this area, including rules for tokenization of real-world assets like industrial machines, for example. Distributed ledger technology, such as the one integrated in the ToloMEO ecosystem, is supposed to become the preferred technological infrastructure to implement the digital product passport, which in turn will be mandatory in European Union shortly. And this could be, in future, the natural evolution of the PMS system we explored previously. Other advanced services relate to the implementation of the so-called smart contracts. Smart contracts are distributed ledger-based executing program, self-executing program that automatically enforces the terms of an agreement with predefined conditions when predefined conditions are met. Thanks to the characteristics of DLT, these contracts are immutable, transparent, and trustless, meaning they do not require intermediaries to validate or execute transactions. how they can be harnessed in industrial IoT environments. For example, we can think about data monetization by enabling automated micropayments for data sharing between stakeholders or provided services. We can implement access control and authorization mechanisms. Think about granting or revoking permissions dynamically based on smart contract logic, ensuring secure multi-party collaboration. We can deploy predictive maintenance agreements, which means to automatically schedule and confirm maintenance tasks when sensor data meets certain thresholds. There are also possibilities in terms of supply chain traceability, recording and verifying each step of the product life cycle, ensuring compliance and transparency. Another point is energy or resource optimization. In terms of executing automated actions, for example, load balancing or resource allocation based on real-time IoT data. This section relates to use cases, and I hand over to Alberto again.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Andrea and Alberto, for just a few words before moving to the use cases. So we had a brief overview about what is possible, what are the challenges in the fleet management, and what a Dave embedded system with ToloMEO can offer you to support these challenges and to face these challenges. Now, let's say we change a little bit the topic. So we see some real examples where ToloMEO and our competencies were applied in the last years. So I leave the stage to Alberto and Andrea again to sum up and propose you a few use cases about our experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manuele. Let's start from the first use case. That is the Prometheus. Prometheus is an European project aiming to monitor the brain oxygenation of preterm babies to optimize the feeding of the baby, to optimize the brain oxygenation itself. So for this project, we design a custom hardware board for the medical environment, and we customize the board support package with the hardening feature provided by ToloMEO to ensure the cybersecurity of the system in compliance with the medical device regulation. We also integrate all the feature for the monitoring of the vulnerability of the system to provide prompt and to provide quickly the update of the system. Finally, we integrate the IoT and the fleet management solution of ToloMEO alongside with the OTA module to monitor all the devices in the field, to update them, and to collect information about the functionalities and the way the devices are working in the field. We also use some artificial intelligence algorithms that can run on the device. Finally, we develop for this project also the local UI, the dashboard that you see in this picture, to monitor all the parameters recorded by the sensor weard by the babies. And we also developed the cloud application where the doctor can collect and monitor more device in the hospital. This is a research project, so the aim is to provide a POC of the system, a working prototype that we will test in the real environment in the hospital with the real babies during the next year. Another use case of ToloMEO is for a robot mower that is a classical home automation device. And in this case, the customer has many thousands of devices in the field across the world. And for this project, the connectivity is very challenging. It is intermittent and with very low bandwidth. So we integrated the ToloMEO BSP with the hardening feature to improve the cybersecurity of the device, and we also enabled the vulnerability monitor module of the ToloMEO platform, and the BSP maintenance to provide updates and to respond to vulnerabilities that will be found in the field. Finally, we integrate the fleet manager to provide to our customer information about the device in the field, and we integrated the OTA modules on the cloud side and the edge side, mainly for the differential update, because in this context we have low bandwidth, so we have to provide very small, teeny updates that can be deployed around the world. Another use case is for UPS, industrial UPS. So we are talking about industrial automation, where we design a monitoring board for this device. Here, the cybersecurity requirements are very high, and they need the compliance with the ISA 62443, both for the hardware, the operating system, and the application layer. We use ToloMEO BSP with the hardening in the version compliant with the ISA 62443 standard. And based on this core component of the platform, we develop the application layer for the customer, also in compliance with the industrial cybersecurity regulation. Moreover, to guarantee the cybersecurity, we enable the vulnerability monitor and the BSP maintenance that allow us to provide updates to our customer to be integrated in their application updates for the device in the field.
Okay, we have two more use cases to show. Before diving into this use case you can see right now, let's take a quick flashback to say that Dave Embedded Systems started working in the field of AI at the edge back in 2020, when COVID-19 epidemic exploded. At that time, the first industrial system on chips for the mass market, equipped with neural network accelerators, started to appear. At that time, we developed a social distancing verification system based on the use of machine learning vision algorithms running on NXP i.MX 8M Plus system on chip. The skills we have acquired since enable us to support our clients in addressing issues related to the AI at the edge topic, like the one I am going to illustrate in the next slide. Recently, we received this prompt from a customer. Is it possible to detect how many people are in a room in order to automatically adjust air conditioning slash ventilation slash heating to optimal levels? Using the knowledge acquired, it is possible to consider creating an automatic system then using inexpensive image sensor is able to count in real time and locally, i.e. no inference at the cloud, the number, layout, and physical characteristics of the people present in the room, and therefore act on the HVAC system. We exploited the knowledge we acquired previously, and so we implemented this proof of concept with the same system on chip I mentioned above. Thanks to the integration of an NPU, the algorithm is CPU offloaded, and so most of the computation related to the neural network is performed by the hardware accelerator. The last use case refers to a sophisticated system that exploits the federated learning paradigm described by Alberto previously. In short, this paradigm means that edge devices, thanks to their local inference and model training capabilities, work together to improve the knowledge of the model they use. Cyclically, the new knowledge acquired by each edge device based on the data samples on which they perform inference is condensed by a central server, which then distributes a new improved model to all the devices. We are going to migrate a real-world example exploiting federated learning to the ToloMEO platform, and it is related to smart endoscopes. This slide shows some information about this concrete example. Of course, we are in the biomedical field, and we are talking about specifically smart endoscopes. These devices are used by doctors to provide real-time support while performing exams on patients to identify potential pathologies of the gastroesophageal tract. The graph on the left shows how, in our test carried out with real data, the performance of the model used for inference in terms of accuracy improved over time, thanks to the sharing of newly acquired knowledge between the various endoscopes. For more details about this study, you can refer to the article linked at the bottom of the slide.
Thank you very much. Let's say we have completed the list of topics for today. Thank you very much to Alberto and Andrea for their efforts and their explanations. I think that what we have seen today is an overview about what we can offer in terms of competencies and solutions. In the meanwhile, if in the next days or time you will have additional questions or curiosities, you have our contacts. You can contact us, and let's say we will be very happy to answer, to continue discussions with you about what we have shown today. This is not the last session we do with ToloMEO and these topics. We will continue next year with dedicated sessions, webinars about our solutions, and so we will have a number of opportunities to see together again. Okay, if there is no other questions, actually, we will close now the event, and thank you once again for your time. I know it's a long, it was a long session, so very happy that you are still here with us. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you all. Bye.